Blog Talk Radio.
Well, I guess it's not going to play the sound of the shot glass slamming, but that's okay. You know where you are. It's Daily Shot Live, 3 o'clock, May 6th, 3 o'clock in the East. Barry Gadbois, Cameron Robbins, Dan Gadbois hanging out. Want to give you the rundown real quick. This is Daily Shot Media. You can find us at Daily Shot Talks on Twitter, dailyshotmedia.com. Don't forget to go like us on the Facebook page, facebook.com. You can find Daily Shot Media there as well. The number, if you want to participate in today's program, is 516-387-1866. You can always interact with us on Twitter at Daily Shot Talks. I'm Barry Gadbois out here in the Western Massachusetts studio near the Basketball Hall of Fame. Dan Gadbois is in the Capital Region studio in Albany, New York, and Cameron Robbins is up on the North Shore of Boston in the North Shore studio. What's up, fellas?
Hi.
Hi, how's it going there, Cameron? How's the North Shore treating you, Cam?
It was cold and dreary, and it's getting a little better today. The sun's out, but, you know, why not? Well, I'll be inside talking to you guys.
Where else would you rather be?
Probably on a walk with my kids. But go ahead.
Okay. All right, fine. Dan, how's the Capital Region treating you?
Wow, look at Cam. Cam, the stellar parent.
That's right. Take some notes.
What a good person.
Yeah. Things are good out here. It's a gloomy day in Albany as well. We had some nice sun yesterday, so I guess good with the bad.
Indeed. That's what we do nowadays.
Riveting.
We got a packed show today, actually. This show is packed. Coming up at the end of the show, Cam is going to take us to the Space Force, okay? This show's packed, Space Force. We have, coming up in about 20 minutes, a very special guest. We're going to be joined by, it's actually National Nurses Day, and we're going to be joined by a healthcare worker who is on the front lines trying to help people survive this coronavirus pandemic in New York City. So very, very special guest coming up in about 20 minutes. Both of those things are going to be great. But before we get to that, I wanted to take you guys on a little tour of how this lockdown is going around the country. This is now just about week 8 of the lockdown. And so, I thought it'd be a good time to take a look and maybe assess how things are going. How's it looking out there? That's not it. That's not it. Hold on. This thing's really hard to operate.
Boy, y'all want power. God, I hope you never get it.
That's Lindsey Graham. My quote for the Times, boy, y'all want power. So you are, wherever you are, likely, unless you're in the state of Georgia or Arkansas or a couple other places, you're probably under some kind of stay-at-home order. Businesses are probably closed. And now we've reached the point where the mask mania has swept the country. Everybody's got to be wearing a mask. And we've reached the point where we have local officials having law enforcement go around and enforce social distancing. We have to enforce social distancing. We have to enforce the wearing of the masks. And I think we are starting to get to a point where as the nice weather grows, the urgency about this pandemic diminishes a little bit and the enforcement from the boss hogs ratchets up. We're going to see some very interesting things. Now, this is a really, really important thing because what I've said from the beginning is that this situation is untenable and I think you're starting to see some cracks in it. Let me take you on a little tour. I want to start in Wisconsin, okay? Let's fire this thing up. We're going to start in the state of Wisconsin where Wisconsin sheriff's deputies had to get involved. Wisconsin sheriff's deputies had to confront a woman, a mother, for the great crime of kids playing together. Let's go to Wisconsin.
Why are you here?
Because your daughter is going to play at other people's home and you're allowing it to happen.
Oh, my.
They were over here as well. So are you here?
They've been talked to
okay.
about it. So
no, I understand. Okay.
And so either you can acknowledge it or you can argue
I'm acknowledging it.
Okay. Stop having your kid go by other people's home.
Okay. I acknowledge it. Anything else?
Okay. So there you go. Yeah. Listen, now, you could say, hey, this is one sheriff's deputy who maybe took things a little too far. I mean, a kid went to play at another house in the neighborhood, probably doesn't require an armed response, but maybe this one guy, right? I mean, it could be just one guy took it a little too far, right? Possible?
Sure. You're going to say
in a place like New York City, where you have a very enlightened mayor like Bill de Blasio and a very enlightened governor like Andrew Cuomo, certainly this type of social distancing overzealousness couldn't happen, right? I mean, it's not possible that in New York City, this sort of thing could get out of hand.
Move the back right now. Move the back.
Who the flex? What you flexing for? Don't flex. You got locked up too. See? Look. He ain't even do nothing. He ain't even do nothing.
Yeah, so that sound you heard is a bystander getting the crap beat out of him by an NYPD officer because he happened to come too close to another guy getting tased for the crime of standing too close to someone else. This is going really well, isn't it? This guy was a 30-something-year-old maintenance worker at like a YMCA, and you hear the cop. That's actually the cop that you hear in the clip saying, "Don't flex. What are you flexing for?" Listen, I get it. There's no big supporter of law enforcement than me, no bigger supporter. But what people like de Blasio and all the other boss hogs out there are doing, they're basically asking for the next Eric Garner. You can't send the cops out to enforce some chicken bleep ordinance and expect them to back down when people resist, can you?
Do they have the right to arrest people for this?
Well, it depends. They don't have the right to arrest people for violating the social distancing, but obviously if you have some type of confrontation with the police while they're trying to enforce the social distancing, that's a different situation, right? I mean, you're not necessarily going to get arrested for selling untaxed cigarettes, but if you resist the police ordering you to stop, things go off the rails, don't they?
I'm surprised you're taking this line with it. Usually you are much more back the blue than this. This isn't the cops. The cops have a job to do, and they're executing it, whether or not you like it.
The cops do have a job to do. The cops are at the mercy of the boss hogs, right? So the cops are not the chiefs. The chiefs are the de Blasios who are sending them out. What's that?
The point? Well, why play the sound bites? What's the point? You're trying to put a target on these cops. They're doing their job.
I'm not putting a target on the cops at all. Local politicians are putting targets on regular people who happen to be standing on the sidewalk or letting their kids play too close
So you
together.
think 95%
happening.
of the population thinks that's de Blasio, not the cop, right? That's the opposite.
No, I'm not saying that. That's 95% of the population doesn't understand that. That's why they have us, so that we can explain to them what's really going on out there before this turns into cop hate. Because the police are in a no-win situation.
That first cop in Wisconsin, what did you want him to do? How does he handle that better?
You say, Chief, I'm going to swing by and see if I can see anything going on here, and I'll let you know. That's what he should have done. Come on.
You want to not do your job.
Listen, so these northern states, this is Wisconsin and New York. I mean, things get a little bit out of hand there, but it's certainly in a place like the People's Republic of Texas, the free state of Texas, you certainly would not think that stuff like this is going on.
Anybody at the phone, put your hands up. Put your hands up. Keep them down, I can see them.
The sound that you hear is a SWAT tank. An actual tank rolling on a bar in Odessa, Texas. I have the copy right here in my formerly nicotine stands. I'd say Big Daddy Zane's, in West Odessa, Texas, was raided by a SWAT team for the crime of serving drinks. The owner said simply, "We can't take it anymore. We're not going to make it." I'm shocked. I had customers come through saying, they have a SWAT built up out there. Why would you bring SWAT into this situation? He talked about the possibility of losing his business license. He said, look, the possibility of losing my license is heartbreaking, but they've already taken my income. Okay? So the SWAT team, an actual tank, went to shut down a bar. This is going really well, isn't it?
Well, they got to use the tank for something.
I mean, it sounds super.
We got to blow out the
and
blow
now
out the
you're talking
injectors
about
or
this
something.
bar in Texas, so it kind of worked.
Now, the greatest travesty in all this is also in Texas, in Dallas County. I want to play a little bit of sound for you from Dallas County. This is a Dallas County judge. This is a little bit of a long clip, but I think it's important, so give it a listen.
You owe an apology to the elected officials whom you disrespected by flagrantly ignoring and in one case defiling their orders, which you now know obviously apply to you. That you understand that the proper way in which in an ordered society to engage concerns which you may have had is to hire a lawyer and advocate for change, an exception or an amendment to laws that you find offensive.
Oh, okay. Because everybody knows
that this is the way that citizens in the state should behave.
It's aggressive.
And that you represent to this court that you will today cease operation of your salon and not reopen until after further orders of the government permit you to do so. This court will consider the payment of a fine in lieu of the incarceration which you've demonstrated that you have so clearly earned.
Oh my
Okay,
gosh.
so clearly earned, says Judge Eric Moy in Dallas County, Texas. The crime at hand here is giving haircuts. Okay, that's what we've got. We have a woman named Shelley Luther who has been arrested for opening her salon and giving haircuts. The judge basically said, hey, look, you owe the elected officials an apology, first of all. And then if you admit that what you did was wrong and you were a bad girl giving haircuts, I'll let you off. Guess what Shelley Luther had to say to the judge?
I have to disagree with you, sir, when you say that I'm selfish, because feeding my kids is not selfish. I have hairstylists that are going hungry because they'd rather feed their kids. So, sir, if you think the law is more important than kids getting fed, then please go ahead with your decision, but I'm not going to shut the salon.
Now,
Not
if you
gonna
think
shut
that the law, not going to shut it, she basically said, hey, judge, you can stuff it. And you know what the judge did? 7 days in jail and a $3,500 fine for the crime of giving haircuts. So at a time when we are actually letting sexual predators and violent criminals out of jail, we are now jailing people for the crime of giving a haircut. This is how far around the bend this whole deal has gone.
Where are politicians supposed to get their haircuts, though?
Well, if you're a politician, like maybe the mayor of Chicago or Billy de Blasio in New York, you just go get a haircut because you're special. The rules are for thee, not for me in the ruling class. So the mayor of Chicago, who was out telling people that she's not playing about her social distance enforcement, also gets her hair and makeup done before she goes on television.
Oh man, this seems a bit more of an extreme case than the actual rule that's happening out there.
If you're watching on YouTube right now, by the way, you can see down here the tank. That's the Ector County Sheriff's SWAT tank, armored vehicle. It's not a tank. I realize it's not a tank before somebody said, "Oh, it's not a tank," I realize it's not a tank. It's an armored vehicle, which was used to clear 8 people who were having drinks out of a bar for the crime of having a drink in a bar. They brought in an armored vehicle.
What's up?
Are you guys? Listen. I know I'm
Expensive
wound up. 516-387-1866. If you want to tell me,
it
I'm wrong,
kind of
tell me
looks
we
like
should
a
be
tank.
locking people up.
Let's be honest. It does kind of look like a tank. I mean, you
Well,
definitely would think
it has a
turret
it
on
has
top,
that-
right?
right. It doesn't have maybe it doesn't have a main gun, but it's got a turret. I mean,
you're taking that thing into
you got to watch out.
Afghanistan.
If you're down at Zane's Roadhouse, you better watch out. This thing will come right through the wall before your shot
Sure.
gets poured.
What are the numbers in Texas? Do you know?
In terms of
Pretty
case
low.
numbers and hospitalizations
Infection
and all
rate,
that.
cases, death. Yeah.
My understanding, this is off the cuff, I didn't research this, but I think Harris County, where Houston is, has been fairly hard hit. Their hospitalizations are fairly high, but most of the state, including Dallas County, has been very quiet, which is why Greg Abbott is reopening the state. And by the way, the fine that Shelley Luther is paying for her salon, which I think comes out to $3,500, is basically assessed from Monday or from Friday, whenever she started operation, until May 8th when the order is lifted. So she effectively was arrested, fined, and now jailed for doing something that would be legal in a week, which is giving a haircut.
Boy, y'all want power. God, I hope you never get it.
Yeah, it's
Is
going
Abbott gonna
great.
partner?
It's really going well. What's that?
Is Abbott going to partner? Has that been brought up?
I don't know. I know at one point the federal Justice Department said that if there were these cases where they felt like enforcement got out of hand in some ways, that they might step in and try to, help out people who they thought were being railroaded by a local jurisdiction. I can't imagine there's any greater case. Can you imagine? Wait a second. More than anything, this judge saying you owe an apology. I can't believe it. I mean, that judge should be recalled. That's the guy he should be sweeping up the hair at the hair salon. He shouldn't be a judge. What an idiot.
Isn't he a friend of former President Barack Obama as well? Isn't that going around?
That I don't know.
Or an appointee or
Possible.
something? There's some connection there. I'm not sure what it is.
Possible. But look. So and now again, we're moving forward in time because that's how time works. This weekend in New York City, in Chicago, Boston. The weather's going to get nicer. How many 2x4s can these idiots nail into a basketball hoop before they understand that they're not going to hold people back? They are going to get more and more people hurt and arrested by trying to keep this insane lockdown going.
Right. There's a point of diminishing returns on all of this.
Well, the interesting fact as well, the state of New York, 66% of cases over the last 3 days have come from people who are at home, who are not working, which is an interesting stat. I mean, either people are out and about anyway, or there's this lockdown is for naught. One of those two.
Well, where are they getting it from? The mail? Are they getting it from
groceries?
Food?
Who knows?
Right.
Well, I think part of the situation in New York that I think makes New York City different, frankly, overall, is that it's not like people live in houses and they have yards that they can go into. I mean, people in New York share such a small amount of square footage. I mean, their people are packed. They basically like living on the subway in some of these apartment buildings and walk-ups and everything in New York City. So to me, the situation in New York is so much more acute and it's so much different because so many people are packed in there.
I don't live in New York.
Is that right?
Yeah. Dan?
Yes.
You live in New York.
Yeah, no, the situation in the upstate New York line is very different than the situation downstate, and I think, our
Where's
listeners
New
are going to
Rochelle?
in a minute.
New Rochelle? Where's that? Upstate?
That's south of me?
South.
Yeah, that's just on the outskirts, Westchester, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Is that the epicenter?
I believe so. I believe what's the word I want to use here? Religious gentleman was the first in that area to get infected, and he spread it pretty well throughout that community. And then it got to Manhattan, where it spread even faster.
Is that why de Blasio is calling for crackdowns on the Jewish community?
Mein Fuhrer is actually just looking to keep the community safe.
Mein Fuhrer? Is that what you said? Now, are there a number of... Is there a number of Indian casinos in New York? The state of New York?
No, actually, it might surprise you, but most of them are state. There's not many Indian. Native American, if you will.
Well, sorry, Indian casinos, Native American casinos. They're going to reopen soon before...
This show has gotten super sensitive.
Yeah.
Right now.
I think that's in there. All right. But Native American casinos are going to reopen soon. Before this, ban is lifted. Do you think you guys would go? Hang out?
100%. 100%.
Will you? The question is, will the NYPD kick the crap out of you for standing too close to someone else? That's really the thing you got to worry about.
Well, I think
as long as they don't kick the crap out of
they
me for doubling 12, we'll be all set.
All right. Hey, listen. Will, as this goes on, this is something that I've said from the beginning that these people are not going to back off until somebody gets hurt. And by the way, this NYPD cop, just so you know, who had the bystander flexing on him or whatever and took him down and arrested him, has been hung out to dry by de Blasio, by the council president in New York City, now saying, well, he's got a tainted record. So this is the issue, is that they are going to put these cops in a situation where they're going to have confrontations, and when those confrontations occur, people like de Blasio will leave the cops hung out to dry because he's a spineless little loser.
Very anti-cop gad boys.
Oh.
I'm all for the cops. Bill de Blasio apparently thinks they're cannon fodder for his little ethnic cleansing campaign in New York. I happen to be pro-cop.
I mean, I think NYPD has a problem with their image of police anyway. I mean, look how they're treated normally. 9 times out of 10, they're getting water sprayed at them. They're getting their cop cars jumped on and smashed with bats. I mean, it sounds like this is a far bigger
now they're
problem.
being put out in these situations. Hey, real quick before we move on, we have a guest coming up in just a minute here. Want to go out to the phones here? We got a caller on the line here from the 860. 860. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, hi guys. Dave Car. First time, long time. I just want to ask, what do you guys think of public transportation going forward? I know we've spent a lot of infrastructure money on trains and not a lot on the roads. Do you think people should get cars now and just drive themselves in, get some more parking garages in the city, less choo-choo trains?
Choo-choo trains. I think we should all go
Dave,
back
you know I love the choo-choo, Dave, right?
Yes. I mean, it seems like that's what was spreading the virus down in New York City, pretty much along the corridors of all the stops. It seems like, maybe we should rethink the choo-choo train.
The fact that
like
Cuomo came out
may
and said
see that.
The fact that Cuomo came out and said that they didn't have a sanitation process for the trains is disgusting. I mean, the fact you just openly acknowledge that is crazy.
Have you been on these trains? Everybody knows that they stink. They smell. They're disgusting to the touch.
I haven't been on one.
Who, me? Oh,
any of you? Dave, do you have your own car, Dave?
Yeah, I have a couple of them, and I like to drive alone. So this really works out well for me.
So you're keeping your social distancing then?
I've been doing that for years, if not decades. But so I just feel like we should just improve our roads a little bit more and encourage people to drive themselves. It seems like, for the future anyways, to be able to handle this. But anyways, I'll hang up and listen. I appreciate what you guys do, and be well.
Oh, Dave.
All right, Dave. Dave, thanks for the call, buddy. Hope to talk to you soon, my friend. Dave in the 860 checking in. All right, hey, we're gonna move this on because we have a guest on the line, and today being National Nurses Day, as much as I'm critical of this lockdown, obviously doctors and nurses, particularly in the New York area and in some cities like Boston and Chicago, New Orleans, are doing an incredible job, frankly, keeping people alive in the midst of hell. Today, the 104th Fighter Wing in Massachusetts, by the way, did a big flyover all the way from Cape Cod Hospital back out west to Bay State Hospital and Bay State Noble Hospital, where they're based. It sounded a little bit like this. Yeah, America. I was out there at the Soldiers Home in Holyoke, which has been ravaged by this situation. It's really terrible, but it was awesome that the 104th did that today. And Dan, I want to go ahead and turn it over to you to go out to the Daily Shot line.
Alyssa, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. How you guys doing?
Alyssa, good. Alyssa, so welcome to Daily Shot Media. First, I want to thank you on National Nurses Day for your service and all you do for your community, and I urge everybody who has a nurse in their life to reach out and thank them today. What you guys have gone through, what you've been doing is amazing. So first, thank you for all you do.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Alyssa, you're in the city, so you've been at really the epicenter of all this. Like, if you can kind of paint a picture for us day to day, what does it look like right now in your situation?
So I work in the emergency department, so you can imagine on a normal day it's really busy. But now since the pandemic has, really hit us hard, what I see every day is really crazy. I walk into work and we have tons of people in respiratory distress, fevers. This is ranging from as young as the other day I had a 1-year-old up until a 102-year-old. These people are so sick they can't breathe on their own. We're intubating them, putting them on tons of medications. They end up on these machines for 3 weeks, and unfortunately most of them end up passing away.
That's terrible. What is your how full are you guys right now, percentage-wise? Are you packed? Are you overflow? Are you starting to slow down a little bit?
So right now we're starting to slow down. We've actually closed a few of our ICUs. We have, I think, 3 ICUs open, probably about 50 ICU patients. And then we have regular COVID units that aren't ICU, and those are probably maybe 100 beds.
Wow. So one of the things
still crowded, but not like what it was.
Yeah. Well, one of the things Cuomo has talked about in the reopening plan is getting to 70% occupancy. And here in Albany, there's been kind of some pushback as to whether that's attainable. Where do you guys usually run? Are you close to that 70? Are you above that 70?
On a normal basis, we're usually above the 70. Right now, I think we're below. We've created units to make sure that we have enough space. So we created an actual entire hospital that they built right next door to the hospital I currently work at. So we have, I think it's about a 25-bed unit. And then we like the PACU and endoscopy, all these units that usually don't hold patients, we've created them to take care of our sick patients. So we've created our own ICUs.
So if you guys were to go to elective, is that a possibility for you at this point, or are you still a ways away from that?
What did you say? Sorry, I missed that.
That's okay. If you guys were to go to elective surgeries, because right now in New York you can't do elective surgeries, how would that impact
we actually
your hospital?
opened up.
Oh, you
We
did?
opened up elective surgeries.
That's awesome. And how has that been so far?
It's actually only been 2 days, so we have a certain wing of our hospital that we created to be like a clean unit. So it's completely blocked off from any COVID interaction. All the nurses, the staff over there only interacts with clean patients. And so far it's been good. I think it's only like 10 patients a day they're allowing in, so it's really minimal compared to what we're used to. I would imagine the hospital's losing a lot of money.
516-387-1866 is a telephone number here if you have a question for a nurse, or you want to say thank you, frankly, to a nurse who's on the front line dealing with the coronavirus, and that's our friend Alyssa, who is in New York. Cam, go ahead. I know you got something.
I just wanted to, if you could take us through like your daily day. What happens every day for you? Like when you get to work, is it just pandemonium? Is it starting to slow down a little bit? I know you said it was slowing down, but like in the early days, was it just out of control?
So the early days, it was definitely chaotic. Luckily, my emergency room is sort of split up into different areas. More than likely, I'm usually working in our trauma critical area. So on a typical COVID day, I would come in, and some of the sickest patients would just be brought in. And during this time where it was pretty wild, we would have 10 patients at a time. Now, when we're intubating these patients, we need to use the proper precautions, proper rooms that are able to suction the air out into the environment and not into, the rest of the hospital. It was kind of chaotic, but we really were able to change our ways kind of quickly and take control of it. We would split up, only one nurse per patient, kind of working out of our scope, doing a lot of the stuff the doctors would do.
Wow.
Yeah, it definitely has slowed down.
How many hours a day were you working?
I work 12 hours a day.
Oof. Unbelievable.
What's the situation, Alyssa, in terms of how is it strange for you to sort of be at work for 12 hours and then go back out into the sort of regular world? Do you feel like it's this kind of two lives that you're living here, or are you never really able to step away from it?
I try my best to sort of live two lives. I go to work, I deal with it all there, but then I sort of mentally compartmentalize and go home and try to be normal. Like I try not to tell my parents too much or my family because it worries them. I try my best not to take my work home with me, but during these times it's kind of hard.
Yeah, no, I think what you're talking. It's incredible here that we have a nurse who's on the front line who's dealt with some of the worst pandemic issues, and you're so calm, cool, and collected about it. So that's impressive.
Thank you.
What does your job look like moving forward? Are you guys preparing for it to slow down? Are you preparing for it to get worse? What's kind of the outlook in the professional world for you?
We're sort of preparing for it to get worse in September. So we're actually trying to stockpile PPE, prepare for the flu and COVID to come back stronger in September. That's what the doctors and the research is saying. It's going to get worse. I think we'll have a little bit of a lull over the summer, but it's definitely going to come back worse.
Do you think that lull's going to let people go outside, not social distance anymore, start going out to bars and restaurants, and then it's just going to explode and you're going to have to do this all over again?
I do. I think that's going to happen.
So should we all be wearing masks?
I think we should all be wearing masks. Definitely wear masks. Wash your hands. Social distance.
Do you think a tank should come to a bar?
Is it safe going to a bar?
No, should
Not
a tank
the same
come
way
to
we
a bar
went to a bar
and shut
before.
it down?
So, Alyssa, just for context here, one of us out of the three of us has been anti-mask until today.
Today?
Yeah, I don't know if you saw it on Twitter. Barry went out for the first time in a hardware store and wore a mask. So everybody congratulated Barry for putting his big boy pants on for a day.
Wait, So for context,
there it is.
everybody was anti-mask until about a week ago, including the World Health Organization and the CDC. And then within the last 7 to 14 days, we all decided that we should cut up our old T-shirts and wear them out walking down the street. Now, to be clear, I did put on a mask. I wrote "End the Shutdown" on it, by the way, in Sharpie, just so I could make my point. I wore a mask inside because I respect the people who run businesses. They've got a right to decide if you want to let people with no shoes or pants or a mask in. I respect that. I'm not going to wear a mask walking down the street outdoors. I just don't. I don't believe that is going to be helpful to anybody walking down the street. It's different if you're in close proximity. You're on a bus, which I will not be on a bus either, by the way. But I respect the right that a business owner or somebody's home has got to say, I want you to wear a mask. I just don't want to. I'm not going to wear one walking down the sidewalk.
Alyssa, should Barry wear a mask walking down the sidewalk?
So I have 2 points to make here. I can agree with you if you're walking by yourself, not passing anybody, not going into a store. That's okay.
I don't pass too many people.
I agree with you. You don't have to wear the mask. But my second point is we're living through history right now. We're living through the next measles, the next polio, all these things that we take our vaccines for when we're kids. COVID-19 is going to be the next one of those. So right now, the reason why the World Health Organization and all of these people don't know what's going on is because this is brand new to us. This is something we've never lived through before. So wearing a mask not only protects yourself, it protects someone else. If you come in contact with another young person that's seemingly healthy, but then they go home and they're in contact with the elderly or their parents, that's who you have to worry about. It's not really so much you're worrying about yourself getting sick, but it's other people that you come in contact with, not just yourself.
Yeah, there you go, Barry.
There you go, Barry. Way to be selfish.
Listen,
it's all about you.
I hear you, Alyssa. I the thing about this is I'm very vocal, obviously, and I don't want to be seen as somebody. I'm not saying I don't believe that this virus is a hoax. I don't think it's a nothing burger. I understand the very critical nature of the situation that we're in as a result of the virus. The problem that I think we have 8 weeks in now is that at some point we have to pivot from a policy perspective, and I think we have to understand the people who are at risk to a bad outcome with this virus. We've got to protect those people. As you say, we've got to respect them. We've got to not be selfish about it. But there are a lot of people who are not as much at risk, and we've got to find a way to get them back out working, frankly, or there's going to be no money left anywhere by the time we hit the fall and the next surge. So I think part of my issue with the mask is I think everybody agrees that they are, unless you're wearing an N95, they're minimally beneficial. But I think that they're making people who maybe don't need to be as afraid. They're going to make them more inclined to want to hunker down and not get back to producing anything. I think there's a psychological effect that's going to work against us getting society moving again.
Oh, listen, not to get into like HIPAA, but what is what are your patients like, age range, health wise? Would you agree that there's been a specific demo that's targeted in this, or do you think it's more blanketed?
Well, it's kind of hard for me to say. Like, I work on Staten Island, so I have it's like a typical, like Italian, Irish, white male society is really where I work. So my patients that are really sick that are in our ICU, they're between like 50 and 70-year-old obese men who really don't have that many medical problems. Maybe the most is diabetes or COPD, which are, risk factors. But I've seen as young as 24 years old with no medical problems in an ICU on a breathing machine dying. So it does range from healthy to not healthy, which is what's scary because nobody really knows why this is happening.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Well, listen, I can't. Obviously, Alyssa's experiences are very real. I mean, I'm not going to argue with somebody who is. I'm sitting here on my fat ass having a drink doing a radio show. She's out saving lives. The overall numbers outside of one person's sphere of experience tell you that this is skewing much. In Massachusetts, for example, the average age of a hospitalization is 69. The average death is 82. 2% of people have died without comorbidities, but with COVID present. I think there's a broader picture that's emerging. That doesn't. I'm not arguing that, but I would say that we have to use that to somehow inform how we move forward. We got to propel ourselves forward at some point. We can't do this. We can't do this forever. And Staten Island, by the way, out of the 5 boroughs, just so you know, you are in the thick of it. Only the Bronx has a higher rate of hospitalization. Manhattan is the lowest with the rate of hospitalization, but the Bronx and Staten Island have been crushed.
Alyssa, if you had 30 seconds, what would you tell people who are listening? What's your advice to everyone?
My advice would be to, that's a hard one. I guess wash your hands, be smart, wear a face mask when going to the store, wash your groceries, your fruits and vegetables, because I've noticed people are touching them extra at the store. I don't know about you guys. And just follow what the World Health Organization is saying.
All right.
Do you think that the social distancing is working? Do you feel like everybody wearing the mask, everybody is, that's all helping you?
It's helping, for sure.
All right. That's all you need to know.
Oh, listen, I'm curious. So when we get to like, let's say we get to the summer and the hospitalizations decline and things are moving in the direction that they're moving in now, and somebody said, hey, take a week off and go to Vegas or go to Miami, go to South Beach, unwind a little bit. What do you think your temperature is on getting back to sort of normal stuff like that? Would you be comfortable with it, or what factors would you want to see to be comfortable?
That I don't know if I would be comfortable just yet. I had the antibody test done and I was negative. For the amount of exposure I've had, it was kind of shocking. But I think in like a restaurant or, I know. If I was going on an airplane, a restaurant, I would want to see, in a restaurant, you can't wear a face mask. How are you going to eat or drink? But I think maybe just tables being distanced a little bit from each other. I guess the hygiene, menus being disposable, not reusable, certain things like that. I think at the beach, I would feel comfortable just because you can sort of separate yourself from other people. An airplane, I think, would be pretty disgusting to think about. It's already gross on a normal day.
As a guy who flies a lot, it's gross. Yeah, it's disgusting on a regular day. Now, what do you think about this? Like in terms of the beach, I look at the beach, and people made a big deal about like Duval County in Florida reopen the beaches. I would be very comfortable going to the beach. I wouldn't sit on top of anybody else because I would kill them. But if you space out a little bit, you got the breeze blowing and the sunshine. I feel like that's a pretty safe environment. You would be comfortable outdoors, obviously more than indoors.
I would be comfortable outdoors.
Well, there you go.
All right. So if they get an open air casino in Vegas, you'd be all set then. That's really what you need.
As long as they wipe the machine down.
Now, what do you think people are gonna because I carry like hand sanitizer in my bag, and I'm kind of like, I get on the plane and I usually forget that wipes, so I can't wipe this stuff down, but I wish I could. Do you think that's gonna become more normal? Like people gonna carry this stuff around and sanitize everything?
I think it will be more normal. Yeah, I think I'll see people doing that.
Is there any downsides? Is there any concern about all of the sanitization that we're doing? And it's good in terms of killing coronavirus, but is there any concern that it's going to lead to some other stuff from people in the medical community?
You mean as far as like getting sick from the product?
No, not so much the product, but if we sanitizing ourselves to the point that we're going to be, like some people say, a little bit of dirt is good for you, right?
Lack of immunity, you're saying?
Yeah, basically.
I guess that's true too. I don't know the answer to that. That's a good question, though.
Oh, good one.
Well, that's good. You're a lot smarter than I am. I don't know either. So, Cam, you got something? You look like you're going to say something. No, you got nothing.
I got nothing. Well, I'm just flabbergasted. I don't think anybody has the answers, no matter what. Barry, you may think you have the right answer. You may hope that your answer is correct. But then you've got 71,000 people who are dead. She's seeing bodies piling up in the hospital. There's no right or wrong. There's maybe a balance, but I don't know if we're smart enough to find it.
Alyssa, you mentioned...
look, I agree with you. I don't think anybody has... Actually, I totally agree with you. I don't think anybody has the answer. I don't have the answers. I'm an idiot. But I don't think that we can afford to just hide in our houses until somebody finds it either. That's the problem.
Alyssa, you mentioned the vaccine. Do you think that once that vaccine is developed, we go back to normal? Do you think December 2019 will be the future, or do you think April 2020 is the future?
The thing with vaccines is I don't know how much I would trust a vaccine that was created in 6 months on a virus that we don't know that much about. Like, I really wouldn't want to be like the first person to get injected with the vaccine. Like, I would be worried about side effects. I would say more towards April 2021. I think the world will reopen, though. I think that things will reopen. They'll go in different phases. People will start to get the antibody test, and as the more people that get it, the more research they're able to have. Like, when I had my antibody test, I signed off that they can use my blood to research, what's going on with this virus. Why didn't I get it, but someone else did? Blood type. They don't know. They really don't know. That's the thing.
I'm very fascinated by this antibody test. Did a lot of people, employees of the hospital, get the test? Did everybody get it?
So I'm part of Northwell Health, and they have their own lab, and basically all of the employees are getting it done. I don't know about like the outside world, what if you guys wanted to get the test done, I don't know how easy it is for you to access it, but majority of the employees at Northwell are getting it done.
Are you hearing any sort of results from that? Does anybody say, "Oh my gosh, a lot more people had it than we thought," or is nobody had it like yourself?
So far with my group of coworkers, we're seeing that if you had symptoms, they're testing positive for the antibodies. But like me, I never had symptoms, but I was exposed, every day. We don't have the antibodies, which I thought maybe I did have the antibodies, like my body was just strong enough and I didn't have the symptoms, but that's just not the case.
Are you relaxed that you didn't have the antibodies, or does that make you more nervous?
It makes me more nervous.
Do you think that if we get to a point where the antibody test obviously is kind of trailing behind the surveillance testing, if we get to a point where we find out that this virus has proliferated in a way that some studies have indicated it has. Miami was a big study, Boston and Stanford are the three that I can think of off the top of my head. If we find out that this is really proliferate and that the mortality rate is much lower than that sort of 3.5% that was really terrifying back in March, do you think that would that be of comfort to you, or would you be concerned because it's spread as quickly as it has?
I would be concerned that it's spread. Definitely
Why?
concerned. I mean, I already am concerned that it's spread this quickly.
Why do you think you haven't had it with somebody who's been exposed to it so much? Do you think you have a certain something in your blood that prevented it, or have you just been extra careful? What do you think that is?
I don't know. I think maybe because I've been extra careful. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not the type of person that's ever really gotten sick. Like, I never have even, like, the common cold. I don't know. Maybe it's something in my blood. I'm not sure.
All right, but you got to be pretty careful. You got your PPE, hand washing. Like, obviously you haven't had PPE problems. You have the appropriate stuff, right, at where you're working?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay, that's good.
Northwell luckily has a lot, yeah.
That's good, because I can't imagine. I mean, honestly, I'll tell you, I don't know how some of the people who've had to deal with this who didn't have the proper supplies. I give them a lot of credit. They got a brass set, because I can't imagine going into your environment with the right stuff. Without it.
I know. Yeah, there was a nurse that died in Manhattan, and he was wearing a garbage bag.
Oh.
So we don't know if people are getting it because of those types of reasons, but there were a lot of people that I work with that were positive. But then again, we don't know if they're getting it from the grocery store or they're getting it at work. Right. It's hard to say.
A lot of people in the beginning said that this was no worse than the flu. In your professional opinion, is this far worse than the flu?
Yeah, far worse.
We need to take this really seriously.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll take it seriously.
Okay, good.
You're going to start washing your hands?
I'll wear a mask.
I take it. Listen, I take it seriously. The problem that I have, again, is that I think there are a lot of people out there who take this seriously, but don't take a 30% unemployment rate seriously. And both of those things are going to create problems over time if we let them go.
That is true.
Alyssa, has your hospital done any cuts? I know in New York, there's been a lot of hospitals doing layoffs and furloughs. Have you guys seen any?
Yes, we've definitely been doing furloughs. Even speech pathologists are furloughed. We don't need them. Patients are intubated. There's no reason for them to be getting assessed by speech and swallow. We've had anybody that works in an office, not in front line of patient care, are furloughed. Even pavilion coordinators that bring the patients inside from the waiting room to the emergency room, they've been furloughed.
Wow. Do you think now that you're doing elective surgeries, you'll start to see them come back, or is that a longer-term plan?
I think it's a longer-term plan. Right now, I think my hospital is just worried about, like the community. And, I mean, some of these elective surgeries are necessary, like dialysis access and things like that. We're not really doing that much, but it's still necessary for the community. Hip replacements, things like that.
I'm curious, because I've heard from a couple other people. Obviously, you work in the ED, but I've talked to a couple of people, particularly a pediatrician, who said that within his practice, 80% of kids over the last couple of months are missing their well visits and missing vaccinations. Cancer diagnoses are way down. Do you think that we're going to face a little bit of a crisis in terms of other things that need care that people are avoiding, or do you think that people are still getting it? Things are okay?
No, I think definitely things are being missed. Even like some patients I see, they'll come in having chest pain for over a week. And it's scary because they could be having a heart attack and die at home, which is just as serious.
Right.
And it's sad because people are afraid to come to the hospital now because they don't want to get sick. But if they're sick at home and dying, I mean, it's almost worth it to come in.
Yeah, wow, I can't. It's really, this all happened so fast. I mean, that's the thing that blows me away, is that in just a couple of weeks we turn the whole world upside down. It's really, that's hard to adjust to.
How's your schedule been, Alyssa? I know you said you were working 12-hour days. Do you consistently work 12-hour days, or has your schedule come back a little bit? Personally, how are you feeling?
So I always work 12-hour days. I've been picking up extra shifts just to help out. We also have an emergency response team. So basically I'll go into work. It'll be extra overtime, and I'll respond to any codes in the entire hospital, anybody that's going into cardiac arrest, anybody in respiratory distress or respiratory failure. So I've been picking up more hours.
And you're still working those hours?
Still.
Wow, that's a long stretch.
Yeah.
God bless you so much for your hard work.
Thank you.
Yeah. So the one thing I'll say for sure, Alyssa, is that I was saying as we were bringing into the show, they did a big flyover in Massachusetts today. I feel like we're constantly seeing, parades particularly in cities that are hard hit, where police, fire, EMS, just local people want to come out, put hearts on their houses, say thank you. Are you and your colleagues feeling that support from the community? Is that message getting into the hospital?
Oh, definitely. The message is like loud and clear. It's really amazing to see, the world come together and the community come together during these difficult times. Even driving to work and seeing like a rainbow on somebody's window, it just cheers me up.
That's good, because I know you guys are, listen, all debate about policy aside, what you guys are doing in emergency departments is literally God's work. I mean, you guys, and compared to a lot of other places in the world, you're kicking ass and saving a lot of lives.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Hey, Alyssa, it's
Thank you,
National
guys.
Nurses Day. Thank you for your time, and do us all a favor. And when you talk to people at work, let them know that we are all out here in awe of what you're doing, and we're completely supportive. Just so much gratitude around the world for what you all are doing.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, Alyssa, man, I'll tell you what. If you think that you're having a bad day at work someday, think about what these doctors and nurses are going through. Especially in New York and Boston, some of these other hard-hit cities. I mean, it's incredible.
A one-year-old on COVID. Oof.
Yeah, man, I think that was pretty incredible to hear what's going on in the front lines. We can sit here and debate wearing a mask or going back to work, but it's gut check when you hear what you're seeing every day.
Well, it's the same thing we say about war policy to some extent. You can debate what politicians decide about what the military is going to do, but when somebody puts on their helmet and nuts up and goes and does it, well, you better get behind them and support them because they're putting it on the line for you.
Absolutely.
Well, hey, listen,
that's a little bit.
That's a little bit sobering, right? I mean, man, that was pretty sobering. Wow, we gotta do? We need a little segue. Oh, yeah, that's what we needed, a little segue. But it's great to hear from Melissa. But I know we got something else, Cam, that I know you want to tee up, and I want to play just a little bit of audio. This is right up your alley. Take a listen to what Cameron is excited about.
I want to welcome our newest 4-star general, Mark Naird, formerly number 2 at the Air Force.
Thank you. It has always been my dream to command a service branch.
Our nation's internet runs through our vulnerable space satellites. POTUS wants complete space dominance. To that end, the president is creating a new branch, Space Force, which Mark will run.
What?
Yeah, I mean, who's not excited for Space Force? Not the TV show, the actual Space Force. Is anybody excited for this?
What are you? Which are you excited about, the TV show or the military branch?
The military branch. It's funny that this show comes out at the end of the month, and it's May 29th. It's on Netflix. But it seems to be taking a page from real world. So POTUS does, in fact, signed into legislation to start the Space Force. It's going to come soon. It's going to have 23 units out of the United States Air Force. You can sign up and try and be a member of the Space Force. Do we think that that's important, relevant? Do we need that? I don't know. There's something you and I, we have never talked about this before. I mean, this is the first new branch of the military in a long, long, long time. And I don't know, just with all the UFOs showing up all of a sudden, pandemics here and there. Exactly. And now we have a Space Force. The United States Space Force.
Do you think it's important? Do you think it's relevant?
Yeah, maybe.
Way to sit on the fence. That was really good. Dude came strong.
You don't see a connection?
I'm glad I
with
wasn't in the
these
lane.
Videos coming out last week. little conspiracy theory.
What?
These UFO videos that were released.
Yeah, we talked about it last week.
Yeah, right. So is this a drop for the show? Is this, is there some higher power?
No, it's all coming together. The whole point is all coming together. We got UFOs coming. We've got a new military branch called Space Force. There's a TV show called Space Force. Everything's going to now. There's a Tom Cruise movie being shot in space coming up. I mean,
Do you think that Netflix ordered the UFOs? You think Netflix is some kind of publicity situation?
This is why we have the discussions to open it up. Now you're onto something.
Oh yeah, it could be. The truth is out there, isn't it? Right. I'll tell you know what? In all seriousness, a lot of people made fun of the president over the Space Force. I mean, the president. Literally, if he walks out with a cure for coronavirus in his hands, people will be angry about it. So it is what it is. But a lot of people got on about the Space Force thing. I actually think if you go back and look at history, our ability to win, or at least convince the Soviets that we could win a war in that space, led to an end to the Cold War, right? I mean, there's some historical relevance to this, first of all.
Well, yeah.
And
secondly, go ahead.
Secondly, think of all the stuff that you have that's tied to satellites. I mean, if we can't protect our satellite infrastructure, banking and commerce and your ability to drive for most people would be compromised if there were no satellites. Yeah. You'd never find it.
So, on paper, it seems like a smart choice if we wanted to protect our assets in space. It is sort of, you go to the Wikipedia page and it's space warfare and space operations, and it seems a little far-fetched and a little silly. As of 2020, we're the only nation that has a space force, a division of its military dedicated solely to space, which is kind of cool. Yeah, it's kind of cool, I guess. And the logo is very reminiscent of Star Trek. It looks like they kind of ripped it off, but whatever, it's fine.
Well, there's been a Space Command for a while. It just hadn't been its own branch. It's been a part of the Air Force, so that logo's been around. Now, maybe Star Trek inspired, but it's not new.
Sure, correct. Army Space and Missile Defense Command.
Let me ask a serious question here, because I think about this a lot. If you had the opportunity to do, a sort of civilian in space thing, like was it Dennis Kucinich or whatever, who flew to the space station? Dan, I'm curious. Would you be willing to find a space suit and get in the spaceship and go to space?
I mean, I'm not a big flying guy in airplanes, so I feel like space shuttle probably not. I'm probably out on that.
Cameron, do I even have to ask you?
No, the only thing I want in life right now is to actually to be in space. I want to go I want to get off this rock and get out of here. Find somewhere else and go.
I know a guy who can get you there. If you come out to Albany, we'll get you to space.
I got a guy for that. Oh, I got a guy. You want to go to space?
You got a guy? No, I want to be.
He'll take you out of this world.
No, great. I want the thought of exploring outer space is just absolutely mind-boggling to me, and I would love to be a part of it. I'm never going to do it. I have too many problems. I have allergies, and I'm too old now, and I got kids, so. I mean, that dream is crushed. But,
you're going to need a big hatch to get me in the thing. I need a big spacesuit, too. But
of course,
I would go. Totally
right? You would go, yeah.
Oh, I mean, I would throw up everywhere, probably wet myself. I'd be a wreck, but I could never pass it up if there was actually the chance to do it.
Right. I would, I want to be cremated and my ass just shot into space. I think that's the only way I'm going to be able to get there.
We're going to have to do with the garbage soon, too, I think, once the landfills are, let's shoot them off into space.
Well, thank God we have the Space Force to oversee that, because they're going to know where the satellites
they're going to have a garbage operation.
It's a good
Netflix
idea, right?
show,
yeah.
I think it's a great idea. And the Netflix show, by the way, Steve Carell, there's a whole bunch of people. It looks like it could be kind of good.
The trailer doesn't look half bad, I got to be honest. And a lot of good
I got a
stars
chuckle.
It's like The Office meets Veep, but it has to deal with the military and the Space Force. It looks kind of funny.
It's like, and the thing, I think Steve Carell is one of those guys, like Owen Wilson sort of gets typecast. I feel like he did this great action movie called No Escape, but sometimes it's hard not to see him as the dude from Wedding Crashers. And I think Steve Carell's got a little bit of that too. It's hard not to see him as like Brick or the Office, right?
Right. This looks good. It's interesting to see him in a full-out military uniform with all the bells and whistles on it. But the big news is that Tom Cruise and Elon Musk are shooting a film in space. They're actually going to be in space shooting a movie. I don't know what the plot is.
Elon Musk.
Sign me up. I'm ready to go.
He's on Team Barry. He open the GD economy is what Elon Musk keeps saying. He's been very outspoken.
Yeah,
He's on my team.
Well, he wants to make money too, but
I'm still not buying one of those ugly ass trucks, by the way. But I appreciate the support.
Dan, you buy a truck, right? You buy the Cybertruck.
At this point, I would I'd buy a S10 pickup from like 1985 if I could. So yeah, I'm in on a pickup truck.
What's stopping you?
Yeah, I think you can get one of those for about $15.
I don't have a job, so.
Oh, a job. Yeah, that will hold you back.
Yeah.
You can't put down Daily Shot Media on your financial form.
Yeah, unfortunately, the income's not what it should be.
All right, hey, listen, got 90 seconds left in the show. I want to just tee it up real quick. It's a good hour here, Dan. Any final thoughts?
Hey, just want to wish you a happy birthday, Barry. Your birthday was Sunday, so big happy 3-9 for you from the Daily Shot Media family.
Oh.
Yeah, congrats, Barry.
Cam?
You're really old now.
Thanks. Yes, I'm old.
I would just like to say...
You'll catch up.
Thank you. I kind of want Kevin Spacey to go away. I'm really surprised that he still thinks that he's relevant and he wants to put out a video on YouTube that's 10 minutes long that compares his Me Too downfall to the coronavirus. I really liked you back in the day. I thought you were a great actor. But now I really never really want to see your face again. I'm fine with that. Just go away.
That's you know what? I'll tell you what. I'll drink to that.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, hey, thanks to Alyssa from New York City for joining us, and to all the nurses, especially on National Nurses Day. But we're all about thanking heroes right now, and although I think we can have a difference of opinion about public policy, and we certainly do, people like me think we got to get the economy back in gear. That should not diminish the work that our healthcare heroes are doing, because they are up to their butts in it right now. They're doing an amazing job, and we just want to say thank you from everybody at Daily Shot Media, our families to your families. You guys are the absolute best. So thanks for putting it on the line.
Absolutely.